This is Dr. Darren Wayne, and I'm a food scientist and the best selling author of 80 Hormonal Health Myths Busted from trulyhealthyme.com. Welcome to the only podcast that tells you the real cause of your hormonal imbalances and how to start balancing all your hormones naturally, without pills, without drugs, without injections, or anything invasive, and even more importantly, without any side effects ever. Now let's talk about PCOS. Or polycystic ovary syndrome. Now, this is a hormonal condition that 1 in 10 women actually develop. And it's a hormonal condition that usually starts in your childbearing years. And it can affect your ability to have children, obviously. It comes with a slew of symptoms. Um, the obvious is, of course, your reproductive hormones are out of balance, and so this can lead to problems with your ovaries, such as not having your period on time or not getting it at all. And a lot of women, of course, are concerned. They wonder, will I ever get my period again? Uh, my wife actually experienced this when we were trying to start a family. She didn't know she had PCOS at the time. She had several of the symptoms, not all of them. So she just scratched it off as, getting older. Stress. You know how everyone likes to blame stress on everything, for everything. But other symptoms include excess androgens, right? Which can cause hair loss or hair in places you don't want it, like on your face. Also, acne, chronic headaches, diabetes, high blood pressure, and so many more symptoms. And when your hormonal imbalances are left to continue for too many years, you may even develop some cancers, including breast cancer. Basically, PCOS happens when a woman's ovaries or adrenal glands produce more male hormones than normal, which is why you also need to balance your testosterone. There's always talk of a new PCOS drug, right? Surgery or some other invasive treatment. But none of those treatments could ever affect the cause of PCOS. Why? Because drugs, pills, injections, surgery, or any other invasive treatment will only exacerbate your hormonal imbalances. Now, for a while, you might feel like, oh, I'm improving. But once your body recovers from the shock of these invasive treatments or invasive drugs, they don't seem to work anymore. And so you're back to searching for your next untested drug. Now, all this accumulates inside your body, damaging your reproductive organs further, and of course, keeping you more and more dependent on drugs. Not to mention, your hormonal imbalances remain imbalanced and your symptoms worsen over time. And, I've spoken to hundreds of wives, girlfriends, moms, grandmothers over the last several years alone, and many of them who have experienced hormonal imbalances, uh, they tell me a slew of symptoms, hundreds of them. And now, when you go to a medical doctor or you go to an endocrinologist, which I think many of them say they are the ones that treat these hormonal imbalances, all you're ever told is one, it's either psychological, or two, basically, I don't know what it is besides PCOS, so I'll just simply give you some pain pills, or I'll give you some hormone injections, right? HRT, or TRT, right? Uh, I mean, these are invasive drugs. They don't balance any of your hormones because obviously they're not natural in any way whatsoever. So they can't balance anything natural, especially not your hormonal imbalances. And also, what happens is when you take them for too long, you develop um, a dependency. Now, this is oftentimes more than physical, but even more so psychological, because once you get off of them, well, obviously, you finally feel the terrible devastation of hormonal balances left behind. because that's what these drugs do. They don't balance your hormones, right? So what do? They replace. I'll say it again. They replace your hormones, thereby making the regular function of the hormones that your body is supposed to create on its own pretty much null and void. In other words, you don't use it, you lose it. Like with any limb, if you stop using your left arm for years, do you think your left arm will become stronger? Of course not. It becomes weaker and weaker and weaker until you can no longer use it. Now, thankfully, uh, as long as it is there and is still receiving blood flow, no matter what limb or organ it is, you can recover as long as you start doing what it takes to strengthen uh, your hormones and the um, the organs and of course all the other parts of your body that regulate your hormones. You can strengthen them. And as long as you continue to strengthen them daily, then you can wean yourself off of these invasive drugs over time, if that is what you choose to do. Of course, you should always wean yourself off drugs. You should never stop abruptly because withdrawals can be extremely dangerous. But you can recover natural hormone balance. It takes a little time, but as long as you're consistent and you continue to balance your hormones naturally, um, then as your hormones strengthen, then you can decide whether or not you want to continue your invasive treatments or not. Many have been able to wean themselves off all drugs, all pills, all injections, anything having to do with the medical industry, they're able to wean themselves off. Some it took months, some it took years, because, like I said, it's a psychological dependency that also must be corrected. And usually that takes a lot longer than any physical dependency. But it is possible, and I have seen it hundreds of times just in the last several years, like I said. So, to recap, PCOS is a name given a series of symptoms, right? PCOS is not a disease, it's not an ailment, it's a group of symptoms that have a pattern. And like I said, 1 out of 10 women today have PCOS, probably more, because that's only what's reported. There are millions more who have a few to several of these symptoms, but like I said, might write them off as just simply working too hard, not getting enough sleep, too much stress, and could never pinpoint that, oh, it might actually be symptoms of PCOS. And then when they try to conceive, for example, they have a hard time conceiving. They're trying to conceive for years, and it never happens because, of course, they never correct the underlying cause of their infertility, which is obviously the slew of symptoms that come with PCOS. But there are other symptoms as well, like endometriosis, which I will talk about in another podcast. But these symptoms that are included in PCOS, you can balance them naturally. You don't have to succumb to drugs and surgery and rely on that for the rest of your life. There are too many drugs already. There are too many drug addictions. We need to focus on balancing our hormones naturally, getting back to how nature wanted our bodies to be. Man created all of the symptoms you experience in PCOS, every single one of them. Nature didn't give that to you. Your genes didn't give those symptoms to you. There is no irregular menstrual gene. There is no headache gene. There's no acne gene. These are not genetic whatsoever. These are developed over time from an accumulation that happens throughout your body, and this damages your hormones over time, and that's where you get these symptoms. And there's a pattern to these symptoms, which is why it's easy to see when someone has endometriosis or PCOS or cancer or heart disease. There are signs that your body tells you exactly what these symptoms look like. And they've been well documented. So obviously, diagnosing these symptoms are not that difficult today. Nevertheless, the cause is the main issue. And drugs and surgery or any pills whatsoever could never affect the cause of PCOS. They can relieve them for a little while, temporarily. Heck, you could exercise all day long and feel a few less symptoms. But once your body settles again, all the symptoms return. Because nothing you do, no matter what exercise you do, no matter what pill you swallow, no matter what you inject, no matter what you surgically remove, nothing, anything like that could ever affect the cause of your PCOS. The only thing that can balance your hormones naturally is what your body is made of. Not made with, not made from, not extracted, not mixed together in some elixir with other drugs. Only one thing and one thing only. If you'd like to find out what that is, then listen to the very end, which you have. Congratulations. And by the way, this is my first podcast ever, and I thought I'd do it on PCOS since I've been helping so many finally recover from PCOS and get their life back and create the healthy family they've always wanted. And again, without drugs, without nothing that can ever harm you. So, I hope you continue learning and growing, but right now it's time to start changing your hormonal health. And you can do that starting today. Thank you. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Go to trulyhealthyme.com right now and start balancing all your hormones naturally. And any questions, you can email me directly at ask@trulyhealthyme.com.